Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to episode 23 of Wilbur Talks FPL, where we talk FPL and the Premier League in general. Very close to the end of the season. Literally, as we speak, it is Wednesday, which is partway through game week 37. No games today, but we've got 3 games tomorrow to complete game week 37, and then at the weekend, game week 38. So, very close to the end of the season. We'll have a nice break and then they're back for a fresh one. I feel like this season's gone on quite a long time and a lot to think about, so a well-deserved break for everyone involved, should we say. We are joined just by Charlie today, as Sam is on holiday. How are you, Charlie?
Yeah, okay, thanks. I was going to talk about how I'm also willing for the season to finish and move on to next season, but I feel like we're getting the pod off to a bit of a downer, so I'm going to try and be more upbeat.
No, it's just a positive, nice break for everyone, isn't it? After I feel like this season and last season, it just required a lot more flexibility and always changing plans, hasn't it? So it's just that added kind of not stress level, but just always having to keep on top of what's going on, and it can just change. Like, for example, I remember earlier in the season making a wild card, looks all right, and then there was a COVID outbreak for 2 weeks, so half my team wasn't playing. So I'm like, I couldn't really build that into the wildcard planning. But we're not trying to be negative there, but it's just been one of those with challenges, hasn't it? Really. So yeah, it's just me and Charlie today. We'll probably do some kind of like season review where we'll probably look back on kind of things that have happened within the season. Obviously it's been one of those crazy ones as we saw last season as well. But of course, we're not starting on a downer. Positive all the way, Charlie. That's all we're saying.
I think it's the fault of having a Man United fan and an Arsenal fan on a podcast at this point in the season.
Yeah, we might have to limit down the football chat this episode, guys, because it's kind of bleak unless Norwich pull off a mad one for Charlie. I don't think we'll be celebrating come the last day of the season, but could get drawn together in the Europa League. You never know, but well, if United even make it that far. We shall see. It'll be Conference League Varane, won't it, as they'll say. But yeah, I think we'll dive straight into it. And as we didn't do a pod last week because, again, it was kind of in the midweek during a game week. It was quite difficult to do one looking ahead. We're going to look back at, we'll start with game week 36. We'll probably both look at game week 36, Charlie, and then we'll look where we are as of now. So would you like to let us know how your game week 36 went?
Yeah, so it's difficult because I finished on 96 points, which against an average of 79 sounds okay, but obviously it was such a big double game week and there was some really high scores flying about. It actually meant I ended up with a 10k rank drop, which is kind of disappointing, but I guess that's just kind of the point we're at this point in the season. And we've talked before how I didn't have a chip to use in that game week, and obviously lots of people were either using bench boosts or free hits and so on. So I guess that's probably where I saw my rank drop come from. But yeah, pretty happy with the team and where the points were coming from. As I tried to say quite often, I would much rather it's points coming from the majority of my players rather than lots of points coming from one player. And that was kind of the case where I think lots of people had double-digit returns from the defence, so the likes of James, Cancelo, Laporte all hitting double figures. Son obviously went on a mad run, which is a bit annoying not to captain him. I went with Salah, like a lot of other people, I think. So yeah, I think it's a bit frustrating in that it ended up with a rank drop, but also you feel a bit privileged complaining about a 96-point return. So we'll see.
It's one of those weeks, isn't it? Like where everyone's got a good score, so unless you like got a 50-pointer or something, you think you've done well, but then it doesn't really come in your rank, as you've said. Like we're going to get onto my game week in a second, but I feel like the one. Well, no, I'll just jump straight into my game week because obviously I was on bench boost and it went pretty well for me because I've probably made about 50 points on you then, saying on your score in that game week. So, a lot of returns everywhere really, but the bench boost really doing the business for me with Foster and Nketiah and then Pookie and Dewsbury all, which got me a tasty mid-30s bench boost, which you can definitely not complain about. I think the only thing that I was unhappy with is probably similar to you, Charlie, with the captaincy. And I was trying to bring a point back from the last pod where I was saying to you guys, I really don't want to captain Salah. And then you both talked me out of it, and I captained Salah, and I was going to captain Cancelo, so I was slightly...
Yeah, blame us for your decision.
I'm
You're the one that hit the button.
I'm going to blame you guys. But the Salah one was pure out of fear, because you just knew everyone was going to captain him, so that was the main one. Because I was thinking, like, I'm on a bench boost, that's a big enough one to make my rank go, like, decently upwards. So I was like, I'll use that as protection. So realistically, the only one that did damage to me was obviously KDB going absolutely crazy with his 4 goals, which, like, if you was on it, it's fantastic, but it's kind of one of those ones that just happens once in a season, doesn't it? Or even once every few seasons, and if you're on it, fair play. But then you've seen this week where he's not done anything, so it's a bit of a... got to be there for it, haven't you? So I think very similar players to you as well. So in total, I got 142 points. Which looks pretty impressive when you see it as a number, but then I've seen a lot of people get actually higher than that. But I jumped about 85k in the rankings, so I cannot really complain. But obviously, it's more easy for me to move in the kind of rank that I'm in compared to your rank, Charlie. But I did set myself the aim of getting back to my highest rank of the season, and I scraped it by 700 places. So as of the end of Game Week 36, I was just inside 177,000. So my highest point of the season by the end of 36. So we'll come on to Game Week 37. But at that point, I was like, I've got the highest I'm going to get, so let's just go for it. So I'm definitely happy with that 36. Obviously, that's what the plan was all along. But the Foster and Nketiah on the bench, definitely a nice little positive. Even if Nketiah was gifted at least 1 goal. But we're not going to complain. And Ben Foster, he's just like one of the heroes of the season. I think I've probably played him about twice all season. One of them was when he saved a penalty, I'm pretty sure, against Aubameyang as well. Which was quite funny. So the bench boost doing pretty well for me there, and getting me slightly comfortable in 3rd in the Wilbur Premier League. So I'm hoping Pete and Sam don't come back at me this last 2 game weeks and will claim 3rd behind you two competing at the top, when it's going to be a very exciting climax for you two there as well, because Jack did very well, didn't he, in Game Week 36. He actually got exactly the same score as me, so I'm pretty sure he's copying my team at this point, but no. If you're going to copy anyone's team, it's not my team's copy, that's for sure. But then if we move on to Game Week 37, how is your game week going so far, although we're partway through it?
Well, the complete opposite of the week before, really. I hadn't really realised this, and this is probably it gives you an insight into where my mind's at with FPL at this point in the season. But it was only ahead of the pod where I was looking back at my team and realised Richarlison was my only player to return anything to this point. So I've got Richarlison, who I captained, on 24 points, and everyone else in my team is either 1, 2, or 3 points. So yeah, not great. Really,
made the right currently captaincy though, at least.
Well, yeah, I suppose there is that, and he was pretty much. I mean, I can't remember whether I brought him in last game week or the week before, but it was with a view to captain him this week. I felt like he was the better pick, certainly of a lot of the doublers. Obviously, Leicester assets are kind of set aside now. Obviously, have proved me a little bit wrong on them, but I wasn't sure about starts for them. But yeah, so yeah, I'm pleased with the captaincy pick, but yeah, so I'm sat on 39 points currently, with obviously Richarlison captain to go again, Zaha, Reece James, and Matty Cash still to play. So we'll see. Yeah, it's unless Richarlison does something crazy again, it's not likely going to be a necessarily a great week relative to where I'm at. I'm currently sat on another red arrow, which is a bit frustrating, down to 32k. So yeah, like I say, unless Richarlison does something crazy again, yeah, a bit disappointing. So my focus is now switching just to try and keep on top of the Wilbur Games Cup as well, which seems to be going pretty well, and also the league. Like you say, Jack's obviously pulled out a great sort of end to the season. I imagine we'll finish this week at the top, so it will be down to me to try and catch him on the last day.
Yeah, I feel like that Matip haul yesterday has destroyed us both. It's going to put you into second. It's going to knock me out of the cup, I think. So it could be the final showdown of you two in cup final and a final day showdown at the same time. So that's an interesting one. So basically, you probably win both or lose both. It's going to be a funny one indeed. You never know. Zaha might bang a hat trick and pull me through in the cup, but I think that Matip one's destroyed me. But we'll see. I think I mentioned a bit about the captaincy as well, because I've got, I think, about 3 returns, but then I've got exactly the same points as you because my captain Zaha and obviously didn't return. So it's quite important getting that captaincy right at the same time. So like I said, I got to the end of game week 36, I'm like, I could just play boring here and just make one change. I'm like, no, let's get Vardy in, which obviously paid off. So I'm quite happy that I took a -4 to get Zaha and Vardy in. Obviously, I've captained the wrong one at this point, but because Salah was out, I wanted to kind of shift that funds. I was between. I felt like I needed, well, not needed to, but I just liked that Leicester first game, and it was either going to be Zaha and Vardy or Maddison and Richarlison. So obviously, I've made a slight. Could have been slightly better there, but you never know. There's still another game to go, and I'm not going to complain that I got involved on that Arsenal. Not Arsenal. I was going to say Arsenal hauls. There weren't any Arsenal hauls, was there? I got on that Leicester haul at least, so I had one of them. Unfortunately, Dewsbury all didn't get involved, but I've got him coming off the bench for Trent. But yeah, so 2 goals for Vardy was 13, goal for Watkins, and then a clean sheet for Emerson Royale, and then it's very similar to you, all 1s, 2s, and 3s. So relying on a captaincy from Zaha, Vardy. I don't know if I fancy him in that Chelsea game. I've benched Alonso and Mount, so I'm hoping Leicester do well and ruins the clean sheet for James and Alonso and gets me some goals. And then I've got the 2 Villa boys as well against Burnley. So I think it'll be similar to you. Like, I think it's difficult this week though because there's a lot of free hits about, and especially if they had like Leicester players, they'll definitely get the benefit from that one and from that Liverpool lineup. So it's a bit of a sticky week. I feel like there's 36 and 37, especially from your side, Charlie, with no chips. It's very difficult to navigate with how the actual points have fallen as well. Sometimes you get away with it, but I feel like there's been certain assets that you'd never be on unless you was on a free hit like those Leicester boys. But always a difficult one, isn't it? So we move, and it'll be a bit of fun in the last game week, and we'll see where we go from there. Might try creep back into that 177k, but we'll take it. And we need, yeah, like I said, we need a Zaha hat trick really to give us any chance in the cup. I'm currently beating Jack by 1 point in the semi-final, but he's got Matip with 11 points come off the bench, so he's basically got a 10-point lead, and he's got the same as you, Richarlison captain. So we need Zaha really to go crazy, or Vardy maybe. Otherwise, we're out. But we shall see. It'll just be fun on the last game of the season. Nothing to play for, so we'll just go out with a bang, won't we? So if we, obviously, like we said, we're partway through game week 37, so we've got those 3 games tomorrow, all on at similar times. I like a good midweek where the games are on at similar times to watch at the same time. But if we just do a bit of a recap then, just over the fixtures we've had so far in the week, Charlie, I'll try not to burn you too much. Obviously, Man United didn't play, so that's been a benefit for me this week. We'll briefly mention Spurs. I won't mention the other North London's result for you. Were you slightly disappointed? Because I know you said you had Son, didn't you? Were you slightly disappointed in Spurs? Well, I'm trying to ask you in a certain way. Disappointed from an FPL point of view, but not maybe from a real life point of view that Spurs didn't get another few goals there to boost us up.
Not necessarily. I kind of saw, and it's obviously easy to say after the event, but I kind of saw not necessarily exactly that result coming, but certainly that kind of fixture being a better Kane fixture than a Son fixture because of the way Burnley play. Even under, obviously, Sean Dyche has left, but they're still a lot more compact and defensive than other teams in the league. So I think that was always going to make it tough for Spurs playing that game. So yeah, I kind of did expect that. My view was really because I think I got rid of Kane last week, I want to say, or the week before, and that was because I wanted Son for the previous week, which I felt he was a better choice for. in that week, but I knew that this week was always going to be probably a better one for Kane. We'll obviously get to 38 later, but I expect that to be a better fixture, the one away to Norwich. I think they both do well, but a better fixture for Son as well. So that's kind of what my thought process was. Knowing I'd have to take the hit FPL wise on this game of Kane probably doing better, and I think it was to be expected. I thought, from an Arsenal perspective, it was obviously quite gutting that. But Burnley did defend really well, and Nick Pope had a great game as well, and all those sorts of things. But it was just kind of inevitable, I think, in the end. Spurs' last home game of the season, pushing for top four. I didn't quite understand a lot of the contention around the handball, because that was completely by the laws of the game a handball. I think there's maybe a bit more anger should be directed at why that is in the law, but a handball is a handball, and I didn't have any doubts that Kane was going to score that, because he's an excellent penalty taker. So obviously I'm not great from an Arsenal perspective, but kind of went as you would think, I think.
Yeah, there was no doubt for the penalty for me. Obviously, if you know the rules, they're written in like that. I know that, as soon as I saw it, there was no doubt in my mind. So I think it's just some bitter fans, maybe, should we say. But yeah, it looks, with them going away to Norwich, that they should, well, unless you see something crazy, they should secure Champions League. But obviously, I'm not going to go further into that, Charlie, because it means someone else misses out.
Well, I mean, even I can see it now that Norwich somehow pull out a miraculous win, and we just end up losing to Everton anyway. So I have I think it would be as likely for Spurs to win against Norwich as it is for Arsenal to end up dropping points somehow. Obviously we've still got tomorrow's games to play, and if Everton win tomorrow, they're definitely safe regardless of what else happens. So we'll see what that would mean for the final day. But I find it very difficult to believe that Spurs won't win against Norwich. I was looking earlier, and Norwich haven't picked up even a point against the current top seven, so the whole season. So it feels very unlikely that Norwich, even though they're obviously it's the last home game of the season, and you can try and spin that narrative, but even with all of that behind them, I just can't see them getting anything from Spurs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And obviously, from an FPL point of view, we want Spurs to do quite a few goals. So,
don't know about that.
FPL point of view, of course, cutting off all other bias there. So,
well, you say that. I mean, if people want to go a bit differential on captains, I imagine they will be the focus. And again, we'll probably come to this later, but I imagine there'll be some of the focus for captaincy, depending on what happens with Salah and so on. Maybe if you're going a bit differential, I imagine the likes of Son or Kane would probably be up or around 100% effective ownership. So maybe you don't want your Spurs players to do well.
Depends how many you've got. If you've got both of them, then maybe you're covered either way, aren't you? But I get your point. And that's similar to Richarlison this week, because I think Richarlison's over 100% EO, isn't he? So it's like, do you actually want him to do well? Well, obviously, if you've got a captain, you do. But if you just got him in your team, it's not really much of a benefit. So it's a strange one, especially when it's someone like Richarlison. You understand it for like a Salah or whatever, but it does make sense in a double game week, I guess. Just looking down the other fixtures, I didn't realise how many 1-1s there was until I looked at all the scores. I was just going to mention it could have been slightly worse against the free hitters as well. But I think you had Matty Cash, don't you, in your team, or did I make that up?
Yeah.
I was going to say, from my point of view, it was made better because Villa and Everton both conceded goals, and I know on a free hit they were quite popular. So I was happy to get a Watkins goal and then the clean sheet to be wiped out. So it went quite well for me in that game. Everton just trying to make it go down to the last game of the season, aren't they? Just trying the best there. But that red card destroyed them there, really. I think, like what you said, I think Everton, with the extra game, should be fine in terms of relegation. But you never know, Zaha could go crazy against them. So I think, for me, it's between Burnley and Leeds who goes down. I think that Leeds point could be a big point, to be fair, especially Burnley being a bit more inconsistent recently. But would you say it's between those two, Charlie, in terms of the last, 2 games for Burnley, 2 games for Everton, and 1 for Leeds?
Yeah, I think so because of the positions where they're currently in. I think also obviously the Leeds' goal difference is a big factor as well. And yeah, I guess because we're speaking ahead of both Everton and Burnley still yet to play their game in hand tomorrow. We'll wait to see what happens off the back of that. I think, yeah, Leeds are just prone to conceding so many, whereas Burnley, I think Everton maybe you could say that as well potentially. Their defense has not been at all solid. I think Burnley maybe could even if they were going to lose, they wouldn't necessarily lose heavily. So yeah, I think it will probably be between Burnley and Leeds, and I think I've now come round to it being Leeds. It just feels like they are just that too open, despite obviously the late equaliser and the point. I think it's just come a bit too late for them.
Yeah, I think that Everton will probably survive by default. I'm not sure they'll get a lot of points. They might win one of the two games, but I think it's the fact that both Burnley and Leeds won't get more points than them. I think that Leeds fixture last day of the season is the worst fixture. Well, out of them and I think who it was then. Completely forgot who I'm talking about. Burnley. Between them and Burnley, that Brentford away fixture is quite difficult. I think because Brentford have been pretty solid the last few weeks. So I don't see Leeds getting anything there. So I think it just relies on Burnley picking up a point or three in either of those two games that they've got. So yeah, I don't see both of those teams overtaking Everton by getting points. So Everton might get a win or so, but I don't think it'll really matter in the grand scheme of things. And especially for your Richarlison captain, them losing that previous game makes it interesting for the second game. Unfortunately, if they've got any defenders left. But yeah, so that kind of touches on the relegation side of thing. We'll briefly touch on Leicester. I think everyone thought that Leicester game could have been a big score, and it just depended on what Leicester team turned up, really, didn't it, on that fixture. Won't go too much into it because obviously if you had Maddison, Barnes or Vardy did very well, and like I kind of mentioned, if he was on a free hit, it's the perfect kind of player, isn't it? Because I'm not sure you'd really want them. I don't know who they've got last game of the season, but
Southampton.
It's not too bad, to be fair. I say that when I've got Vardy in my team. But I think now they haven't got European football, it wasn't a bad one to be going for, especially that Watford game. Even if you weren't tackling the Chelsea game, that Watford one, you know what Watford are like, especially at home for some reason. I don't know why they're worse. Well, they're not good anyway, but they're terrible at home, which is generally not the right way around, is it, for a promoted team? But it's one of those ones that free hitters really benefited from there. And then if we touch on the title race, it goes to the last game of the season, which I'm sure Sam is slightly happier about, but obviously still need a result in the last day. You think it's going to be a win for them both, Charlie, or do you think Villa can rock the boat against City and give Liverpool a chance?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it will just be boring and they'll both win.
Hopefully.
Obviously, I think all the media and press and stuff are trying to spin it up about this Gerrard narrative and whatever, but yeah, it's been my opinion for quite a while now that City just can't drop enough points to let Liverpool back in it. And I felt that Liverpool will go on and win all the cup competitions they're in, and Man City would win the league. And yeah, I can't see that changing. I think I don't think it was a surprise they conceded to West Ham, Man City. Obviously, going 2-0 down, maybe I didn't necessarily see that. But then they completely changed it in the second half, turned it around, and managed to get the point back, which changes things again. But yeah, I just can't see them even dropping a point against Villa. So yeah, I think they'll both end up winning, and City will win the league.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the last, was it about 5 fixtures after Liverpool and City played against each other, I think that Spurs game Liverpool had and then the West Ham game that City had were the clear ones that could easily drop points, especially West Ham being out of Europe and obviously being Noble's last game. So it wasn't particularly a surprise, and that point, Mahrez really should have got them free and could have basically sealed it. But yeah, if Liverpool win it on the last day of the season, I don't think there'll be an end of season pod because Sam will just be talking the whole time. It'll just be like his after party celebration, won't it? that'll just be. I think I'll have to go in hiding for the summer that if Liverpool get excited over a League Cup, let alone a quadruple. So
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting dilemma for you. Who would you rather win it out of the two of them? Because neither are necessarily. They're kind of both rivals for United, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think if you asked like United fans, 99% of them will say City because we don't see City as a big rival. Like, obviously, they're a lot better in modern times, but they haven't got the history. So, like, there's no doubt in my mind I want City to win. Obviously, ideally, I don't want either of them to win. But the thing is, like, we're not that bothered about City winning the league. We don't want City to win the Champions League because then they can say they've won it all. So I might say differently if there was in a Champions League final, but in terms of the league, and obviously there's a thing with the titles, isn't there, that we've still got more titles than Liverpool. So yeah, it's City for the league, and obviously Real Madrid for the Champions League. What I was going to say, you said about that narrative about Gerrard as well. I've seen all the opposite side as well, that apparently Villa get a £15 million bonus from Grealish if they win the league.
Yeah, I saw that.
The opposite side. So it's like you can spin it however way you want it, can't you, really? It'd be pretty ironic if Grealish actually won them the league with a goal or something. So we'll see with that one, how that one goes the last day. I do like the last day of the season where everyone plays at the same time. It's a small drama, isn't it? And everything going on at the same time, especially in terms of FPL. I feel like I just have to do like a watch along for that Sunday. Oh no, I was going to say I want to do a watch along for that Sunday, but I think I'm blooming out doing something else, which is just terrible. I can't be out when there's that many football matches on.
I can tell you right now, if Norwich score an early goal, I'm going to be an absolute wreck.
Oh God, yeah. But I've just realised, arranging something on the Sunday, the last game of the season, it's like, that is horrendous. Like, why have I arranged that? Yeah, so I'm muddied. I'll just have to. I might have to do a match of the day challenge. That's what I might be eyeing up for last day. But not like United have got anything to play for, like Conference League or Europa League. But I might do that and shield myself from all the scores and see. Well, put me through the agony when City go like 2 goals down or something. But we shall see. But yeah, I think that rounds up everything. Obviously, Liverpool got the win last night as well to keep it going to the final day. But I think that rounds up what I wanted to talk about from last week. Like I said, we're not going to touch on that Arsenal result. So I think it's over to you again, Charlie, because you were the quiz master, and from last time we realised that I'm terrible at quizzes and won by default. So I'm not expecting it to go very well at all.
Yeah, this time you haven't got Sam to give a wrong answer to let you win. So.
Good old Ronaldo.
Well, and you're obviously just playing for pride. You don't really have anyone to play against in this. Yeah, so I have a list of the top 10. It's actually 11 because the 10th is joint. FPL price rises since the start of the season. So to clarify, that's their current price versus the price they were at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So we're looking for the players that have risen the most since the start of the season. Yeah, I think there are going to be some that are obvious and some maybe less so. And yeah, I don't because it's just quizzing you. I don't really know how we do this. I'll give you. I'll tell you if you're wrong or right, and then let's say if you get 2 wrong, then that's technically you out.
Okay. The thing is, I know some of the ones near the top of this list. Just I'm pretty sure at Fest as well. This was a question, so I definitely know who's top.
Cheated.
I'm confident on the top 2 because there was a debate around who had gone up the highest. But then after the top 2, I'll probably struggle. So I'm pretty confident the top is Cancelo.
He is indeed. Want to take any guesses what his starting price was?
I think he's. I can't even think what he is now. Is he about 6.4 or something? I feel like he's gone like 5.5 to 6.4, something like that.
So this is the interesting thing as well, because obviously we've got a lot of these players in our team, so we won't actually see what their actual price is. Yeah. So he's now 7.2 million.
Oh God, 7 miles off.
Yeah. The other reason why I wanted to do this was because obviously as we come into the end of the season and then start to look ahead to the next season, this may give us a bit of an indication of what their price might be coming into next season. But yeah, he started the season at 6 million, now 7.2, and so he's obviously gone up 1.2 million, which is the most of any player.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure second is Son. Or is
indeed
around that kind of range.
Yep. He's gone up 1.1 million, started at 10, up to 11.1.
1.1. So I'm going to use that as a gauge. So I'm going to say like your minimum scale is going to be like 0.7 is my kind of guess, because I feel like it's got to be a significant enough rise. I did see a fun fact that Antonio went up by like 0.7 and now he's gone back down to what he was at the start. I think he might actually be cheaper than he was.
Yeah.
So at one point in the season he probably was on this list and then he went all the way back down, which is pretty funny for Antonio. Like I said, I'm not really convinced after the top two, but I feel like this guy has to be on there based on how he's been all season, and I'd say Bowen.
I'm afraid that's an incorrect answer.
God, I'm surprised at that, because I'm just thinking how cheap he was.
I'll see if I can quickly find
where
he is. So he is currently at 6.8 million, and that is only up 0.3.
I can't believe that. There you go. I'm glad I knew the top two. I'm surprised Bowen's not on there.
That's one of your lives gone. You got one left.
Fantastic start. The other one that came to my mind, I'm not saying it as an answer, but I'm just brainstorming because there's no one else here, that surely Trent has got to be there, because I think Trent, if I'm correct, has gone from 7.5 to like 8.4, something along those lines. Is he 8.4? I think I'm just making these numbers up now. But he's had like a huge rise. I only know this because when I was doing, I don't know if I was wildcarding or looking at something where, because it shows you like your buy price, doesn't it, your purchase price, and then like your sell price or his current price. And he's like one of the players I've had in the whole season. I could see what the difference was. So I'm pretty confident in saying that Trent is in there.
You giving that as an answer?
Yeah, I'm using it as an answer.
Okay, that's correct. He's joint third.
He's gone up. All that and then it wasn't right.
No, you gave the exact correct statistic. So he started at 7.5 up to 8.4, which is a 0.9 increase.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen that on my team screen, so I was very confident on that one at least. But then past that, I'm struggling a bit. But there should be some very obvious ones, I feel like. I'm just trying to think.
Yep.
But then very obvious is very difficult when... There's certain players that I feel like at the start of the season they would have been miles up there, and then they've declined a bit over the last few. Like, because I'm very tempted to say, again brainstorming, I'm very tempted to say Dennis because of his first half of the season, but then I feel like the second half of the season he's very dropped off. So I'm just banking that to the side for a minute. Just trying to think who else. I'm just trying to think position by position. My logic is thinking of someone who's low value and has gone up. Thinking of that, that's it's just trying to gauge what the lowest point is, I think, on this one, because Ramsdale came to mind there, and I'm pretty sure Ramsdale's gone from 4.5 to 5.2. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure if 0.7 is in the top 11. But so you said Trent's 0.9, so I feel like 0.7 is probably your base. And you said a lot of people are joint at the bottom.
There's two people, joint 10th.
Okay. I feel like 0.7 has got to be in there. I've not owned Ramsdale, but I feel like Ramsdale is 5.2. I think I'm slightly more confident on Ramsdale, so I'll say Ramsdale.
Ramsdale's correct. He's actually gone up 0.6, so he's currently at 5.1. But you were right about the other figures.
Yeah, so I like that as a gauge then. So he's only gone up 0.6. Okay. Yeah. Can you tell me where he was on the list? Or is that too far?
Yeah, let me count quickly. 1, 2, 3.
I'm just trying to gauge who's around him.
He is 7th.
Okay. I feel I can go down to 0.5 then. That's making me want to say Dennis now, though, which is probably quite dangerous. Do I say Dennis? I feel like Dennis 5.5 starting, and he's got to be over 6 still. I feel like he's kind of like Antonio, but not as drastic. We started up high and then he's gone down. He's top of my list, so I'll say Dennis.
Dennis is correct. Started at 5, is now at 5.8.
Oh, 5, okay. But I was right in terms of the logic of him going up at least, so I'll give myself some credit. So is that a 5 then? Dennis Ramsdale.
Yep, 5. We're done.
Mm,
Just technically 11 answers because of joint 10th.
okay. So Ramsdale was only 0.6. So we know 0.5. So I'm trying to think again who we've got. There's like, all the strikers have been terrible. Pookie was, I'm pretty sure he started at 6 and he's not gone up at all. I'm trying to think, I can't think of any other like cheap strikers around that kind of range.
I'll give you a quick clue. So there are 3 defenders left to guess. There is and 1, 2, 3 midfielders.
Okay, yeah. So I had the right one then at least.
Yep.
Defenders and midfielders. Do we stick with the solid defences or do we not? Laporte is the next on the consideration list, but I just don't know what his starting price was. I'm not really sure what he is now, to be fair. I think he's 6 something, I'm pretty sure. So if he started at 5.5, I'm in the money, but if he started at 6, then I'm not in the money. And I'm like, as a City defender, would you really start at 5.5? So he's on the maybe list. I'm not committing to that answer because you said I've already got one wrong. So midfielders, I can't believe Bowen wasn't on there. That's just thrown me off now because I was like, Bowen's surely got to be a banker. Midfielders, Saka. I'm inclined to say Saka, but I'm hesitant now because Bowen wasn't right, and I feel like Saka's the same kind of situation. You've thrown me off now. Bowen's wrong. So do I get another guess? Am I out if I get the next one wrong?
I mean, we're still going to reel off the rest of them anyway.
Yeah. So it could be here all day anyway. Saka or Laporte. Is there anyone else that could be there? So we've said this on. Salah have actually gone up in price. What's Salah's? I don't know what Salah started at. Salah could be on there, you know. It's like one of those ones that's so expensive you think he can't go up in price, but he actually does go up in price, doesn't it? Because I'm pretty sure Salah is 13.2 maybe, and I have an inkling that he started at 12.5. So if I take a joint answer of Salah, Saka and Laporte, can you tell me how many out of those 3 are right? And then I'll accept that one of them is wrong and then we'll guess the other.
No, you can give me one answer, please.
Salah.
Salah's correct, yes.
Okay.
He is now at 13.1, so that's 0.6 increase from 12.5.
Okay, so that's right. Okay, Laporte and Saka. Right. I feel like the way you said that, one of these is wrong. There's going to be some obvious ones. So we've got 2 midfielders, 3 defenders. I'm trying to think defence. Robertson. I feel like Robertson wasn't that popular at the start, so he wouldn't have gone up much. So we've said Cancelo, we've said Trent. I feel in midfield there's so many players that kind of like you want them for like 5 games and then you get rid of them, so I could see them going up and then down again.
Yeah, I'm going to say right now I don't think you'll get one of the midfielders.
Okay. I'm debating between these 2 now. I don't think I'm convinced on Laporte, but Saka I'm a bit. I've no clue what Saka started at. That's the issue I'm having with Saka because I don't think I've owned him all season. I'll say Saka because I'm not really convinced by what else.
Saka's incorrect.
It's these midfielders.
Saka is 6.7, started at 6.5.
I was hoping he started at 6. That's what I was aiming for. Is Laporte wrong?
Laporte is a correct answer.
Okay, damn it. I went for the wrong one now.
He is in joint 10th. He started at 5.5 and is now 6. And like you said, a very good point. He starting at 5.5 is interesting, but I think that's probably with hindsight because I don't think he was a guaranteed starter at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, because it was Stones and Diaz mainly last year, wasn't it? But he's been the only one that's been fit, hasn't he?
I'd be very surprised if he wasn't 6 million next year.
Yeah, it's got to be. So 2 defenders and 2 midfielders left. Obviously, I've lost already, but midfielders. Am I allowed to scout down the most popular players now that I've lost? Defenders.
Sure.
I'm just trying to think of a bit. Surely defence. What did Reece James start at? I'll say Reece James because obviously I'm out already, so I might as well say it.
Yep, surprise hasn't come up earlier. He is correct. He's third on the list. Started at 5.5, is now 6.4.
Yeah, I feel like he had that patch in the middle where he either got 1 point or just didn't play, so it was a bit. Yep. He hasn't been there all season, has he? So that's what kind of threw me off a bit. So 1 defender. Come on, we can get the defender, or at least another midfielder. I think Diaz probably started the same. I think Diaz probably started at 6, and he's not gone up much from that. Van Dijk. No clue what Van Dijk started at. So if Trent started. So I'm pretty sure Van Dijk's quite expensive now. Like high 6s maybe. And I feel like Van Dijk might have started at 6, so I'll say Van Dijk.
Van Dijk is incorrect. He started at 6.5, he's now 6.8.
Okay, oh yeah, obviously, yeah, I was thinking Trent started at blooming 6.5, but he started at 7.5. That's where I went wrong. I was thinking Trent and Van Dijk can't start at the same. Yeah, but that was my mistake. Yeah, you can probably tell me the other 3. I can't. The point would be obvious.
So the last remaining defender is in the same team as a defender you've already mentioned, and not the top 2.
Oh, a team I've already mentioned, but not the top 2.
Yeah.
Arsenal, I'm assuming. Or
not Arsenal.
Arsenal. Well, it's not Watford. So it's got to be Spurs.
It's not Spurs.
It's not Spurs. Who else have I mentioned? What are correct answers or wrong answers?
One of the answers it was a correct answer, but it wasn't one you gave until after you were already out. Oh. Okay, he's from Chelsea. I'll give you that.
I've stopped writing them down at that point. Another defender from Chelsea.
Started at 5.5. He's now 6.1.
I feel like the obvious one to say is Alonso. Because I can't, unless it's Rudiger. It's one of those 2.
It's Rudiger. I'll just give you it's Rudiger.
Yeah.
So you've now got 2 midfielders. One is from a top 4 team. One is not from a top 4 team.
Okay. Top 4, not top 4. So we're saying current top 4?
Current top 4.
Just in case we say some dubious things. So midfielder from a top 4 team. So realistically, Spurs, Son we've said. Kulusevski's surely not been here for long enough. I'd be surprised if it's Kulusevski, but then I could see it being Kulusevski, so he's a maybe, but I don't think it is him. Midfielders for Chelsea. It can realistically be Mount or Havertz. Mount is in my team. I think Mount has probably gone up by, I don't know what he started at. I feel like he started at 7.5 and he's now 7.9 or something, so I'm not sure on him. Havertz, I don't think either. So I don't think it's them. It's going to be one of these random Liverpool midfielders. In fairness, it could be a random even midfielder from City or thingy. I'll just say Kulusevski, which I think is wrong, just because I don't want to think about how many midfielders there are in the other 2 teams.
Kulusevski is wrong, and I'm afraid he is one of those midfielders from one of those 2 teams.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be like Liverpool. So it's not going to be Diaz. It's probably Jota.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Jota, 7.5 at the beginning, now 8.3.
It just has to be because of the price that he started at, really.
So we've got 1 player left, midfielder outside the top 4. This is the one I didn't think you'll get. So I might need to work out another clue.
Does he play in London?
He does.
Is it Gallagher?
It is indeed.
Oh. I don't know why this came straight to my head, that like...
He is joint 10th with Laporte, started at exactly the same as Laporte, started at 5.5, is now 6 million.
I wish I said that straight away now, Gallagher. I was confident on that one. I was going to say, does he play for Palace? And I'm like, really? It's not going to be Zaha, is it? So, cool. Yeah, got there in the end. Yeah, I wouldn't, yeah. I don't know. I think yeah, if I knew it was outside top 4, I may have snap said Gallagher, but I think it would have been Gallagher or Saka would have been stuck on, but obviously I said Saka earlier.
Just as fun fact, I also looked at the players that have fallen the most, but it would have been an absolute chaos. You wouldn't have been able to get complete random players. But no, so the one that's fallen the most is Chris Wood, is currently at 6.3, started at 7.
Oh,
and then you've got Pepe, Trossard, Havertz, Saul, Benteke, Dallas, Sancho.
Yeah,
so none of these names you're guessing.
I'm definitely said. I'm glad I didn't say Havertz. Then I was thinking like Havertz.
It's fallen 6 million. That's 0.6.
Yeah, 6 million. Yeah, you imagine. And they're definitely bottom of the list. But yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Got there slowly and with a lot of help. But yeah, it's one of those volatile things, isn't it? Like I can't believe Bowen wasn't on there. That's the one that got me. But I wonder if at some point maybe it got up to like 0.5, but then it's dropped the last few weeks, especially when I'm not had double game weeks and stuff. But it's an interesting one. Thank you for that. We shall move on and to game week 38, which, as we said, is going to be an absolute chaos game week just in general. I feel like I've got to do a match a day challenge now. I should probably stream a match a day challenge and then just like cry when everything happens. That'll just be great content, won't it? But yeah, looking forward to game week 38. Have you had a look at 38 or plan towards 38, Charlie? And is there any kind of big transfer plans you're eyeing up before we dip into some of the fixtures, maybe?
Yes and no. In a very loose plan I made a few weeks ago, the idea was potentially looking at either a Man City or Liverpool defender. I ended up making that move already when I brought Laporte in. So really it's kind of just open for me now. I think probably I'll end up taking out one of my Arsenal players, Arsenal midfielders. I've got both Saka and Martinelli. I don't feel like I need both of them. And well, we'll see. I'll decide later on based on presses and stuff about who I take out. Obviously, taking out Martinelli seems the obvious one, but there has been suggestion that Smith Rowe wasn't in training today, I think. So if he's out, then Martinelli would certainly play, and I'd maybe tempted to keep him in, and that would give me a bit more funds to be able to upgrade Saka to someone else. And Saka's the more highly owned of the two, so that would provide more of a differential to get rid of that one and have someone else. So, for example, I could do Saka to Mason Mount potentially. I think Chelsea, like we said, they're going to be at home against Watford. That feels like a very high scoring game for Chelsea, probably 3-4, 5-0, I imagine. And yeah, I've not held back about how much I've enjoyed having Mount when I have, and the points he's returned me. So that would feel a nice way to end the season. I think, yeah, outside of that, I guess because the title is technically going to the last day, like I said earlier, I think Man City will win, but obviously they're both going to be going out with the knowledge that they need to win for anything. Getting back into some kind of Liverpool attack feels like it would be a move that pays off. I was like a lot of people that weren't on a free hit. I took Salah out, ended up bringing De Bruyne in, which again I was happy with because of an expectation it would still go down to the last day, so Man City would still have something to play for, and the fact it would be Man City's last home game as well of the season, so the crowd will be right up for it. So I expect De Bruyne to do well. But yeah, it may just be whether I consider trying to get someone like Jota or Diaz in. I don't think have the funds to be able to get back to someone like Salah. And yeah, outside of that, I don't really see any necessarily options that I'd love to go for. I mean, maybe someone like Maddison on a punt, someone like Vardy, if we could get confirmations about these players starting. And that's the other benefit of all of these games kicking off at the same time, is we probably will end up with some team leaks for some of them. If you stay active on Twitter, you'll usually see something. So yeah, we'll see. I think again, it's just still, as has been our kind of motto for a little while now, is just aiming for those players that still have things to play for. I think is the safest route to points. So I think it's those kind of teams that I'd focus on.
Yeah, I've definitely destroyed my chances in the last third of the season by arranging to be out for a meal at 2:00. Who does that? Come on. Well, not a meal, but out and about. Yeah, I think my thoughts are similar to yours. I'm looking at my team for 38 and I'm quite happy with the defence. Double City, Trent, Alonso, and then Emerson Royale, which I think that's probably one of the best lineups you probably get, obviously, as long as City keep a clean sheet. I'd argue maybe Reece James or even Robertson may be in there, but can't really complain. So I think if I was going to move someone, obviously, well, I'm going to at least use my 1 free transfer, may as well. It's not going to roll over anywhere, is it? Probably, yeah, so it's going to be midfield or attack. It's either, there's not really anyone to go for in attack, so it'd probably be similar to the ideas you were saying, that because I've got Coutinho or Watkins that I'd get rid of because they're away at Man City, maybe Coutinho to Diaz, if he's going to play for Liverpool. Could be an interesting one. I've already got Mount, who you've said's a good pick, so he's not going to go anywhere for me. Charlie says he's good, he's not going anywhere. Yeah, I don't mind the look of my team, to be fair, going into this week. Because, well, I'm currently starting Nketiah, so he'd probably be the one who drops out if I got like a Luis Diaz in there and end up playing a 5-4-1, going all out attack for the last game week. But, yeah, so I'd have a midfield then of Mount, Son, Zaha and Luis Diaz if I got him in, with just Vardy up top. So it looks pretty strong, that, to be fair. Just relying on those defenders to be raging forward. Because I'm set for like making that midfield switch. I don't see where else I would go. Because like I could try go Vardy up to Kane, but I think Vardy's got a decent fixture anyway. So it's an interesting one. It's just one of those ones though. You could bring in a Diaz or something and get a hat trick or something. Mane always loves the last day of the season, doesn't he? He's the one that seems to be up for the last game, especially at home. But we'll see. Yeah, I feel like Liverpool will just try and get that game sewn up in the first 20 minutes and just put all the pressure onto City. Like they'll be airing all the fans getting nervous around the ground. So it's not a bad one to go for an attacking asset from Liverpool. I feel like they won't be as nervy as City. So I think that's the idea, even though it's similar to what you've suggested already, Charlie. It depends who starts in that Liverpool attack, which is obviously going to give you that benefit if we get any leaked team news coming up to the deadline, which I might miss out on. Hopefully we get some presses saying that Salah's definitely out, and then well, obviously Firmino's back now, but you'd be hopeful that Jota and Diaz would be in there. Was it Firmino? Yeah, Firmino, Jota and Millamino, wasn't it, in midweek? So I would have hope that Diaz would be in the preferred starting lineup then, based on that, but that's obviously making the assumption. So that sounds like an interesting move, to be fair. Just 1 week, could do anything for 1 week, can't we, really? So, so we kind of touched on some of these fixtures as we've been going through. So obviously we've got the 2 title contenders there, who I think Wolves have been dreadful the last few weeks. So definitely that attacker we've mentioned. I think that City game will be cagey, so I'm not as inclined to go for that City attacker as we might have been previously. You said you got KDB, didn't you, Charlie? So yeah. Obviously you're not, well, I'm expecting you're not going to be moving him to anyone else, because around that range I don't think you'd be going for anyone else unless you're going back to Salah, but he might not even be fit, so you might as well stick with the City if you've got them. But I don't think I'd recommend bringing them in. I think there's better options, even if it's Mount, who you've mentioned already. Even maybe a Christian Eriksen against Leeds isn't a bad shout. Is there any kind of punts for the last game of the season that you see there, Charlie, that you'd be like, oh, just throw him in for 1 week and there's a high upside if it goes right?
I think it probably comes down to what happens in the games tomorrow. Because if Burnley, for example, still need something on the final day, I don't really want to go again for their attack necessarily, but I guess that could be
you're saying. So yeah. That's the advice.
a left field option. I really like that shout, that Eriksen shout, because I think Leeds do just concede for fun, and or obviously things now tick through Everton for Brentford, and And regrettably, I have to say, if Everton don't seal it before the final day, I don't think it's a bad thing having either like Gordon or Richarlison against Arsenal. We're conceding goals fairly often now without some key players. And I think that Leicester home game as well. Southampton similarly have shown they're very open and very prone to conceding goals. And it seems like with some of these kind of key players back in the team for Leicester, they are getting back to winning ways. So a Maddison or a Vardy, again, if you can confirm that they start, I think Maddison you're probably more safe on. Vardy is maybe a bit more of a doubt just because of his age and fitness. And I mean, I think if it wasn't for the situation in the Wilbur Games League, I think I would want to follow through with my suggested plan of bringing in Pookie and captaining him. But I think because I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to need to be gaining points, not losing them, I don't think I can follow through with that.
That would be funny if it came off, to be fair, and I'm sure he'd be very happy. Like, well, it scores a hat trick and then still lose, then maybe not so, but that would be a very risky play, that one. Like you kind of touched on a lot of the teams. Like that's when I'm looking at my lineup, like how I've got it going into the game week. I feel like I've got a coverage of quite a lot of those high upside teams. So you mentioned Leicester, so I've only got Vardy there. Obviously, we know Spurs have got probably the best fixture of the lot. I've got Mount and Chelsea who are playing Watford. Even got Zaha in there against United because their defence is fantastic. So I feel like apart from the Liverpool attack, it's got a bit of coverage for all of them. So unless Kane absolutely destroys the goal contributions instead of Son, then hopefully it'll be okay. But like I said, it's looking pretty strong. But I feel like you get a lot of weeks in the season where you think your team looks good and then you just get like 20 points. So we'll see how it plans out. I feel like a few people might go a bit rogue on the last day, like a few hits, and some will come off and some won't. So it's a very fun part of the season. No one cares after this week, so go all in on it. So in terms of captaincy, Charlie, are you eyeing up a Son or someone outside of that? I thought I'd put that name straight out there for you.
You mean if it's not Pookie? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, assuming it's not going to be Pookie, because that'd be an interesting transfer, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I've got the captaincy on De Bruyne with Son Vice. I think there's probably as much, if not more, evidence to go with Son, but we'll see how I go. I'm maybe not as convinced that it'll be as cagey as what you're saying. I think Villa have shown that they can. They like to be attacking. They like to push their fullbacks up, which I think opens them up to all sorts of issues from Man City. But I guess it depends what Man City. If we see the Man City from the first half of the game against West Ham, then that would be a huge issue. But the second half is much different, and they use the space much better. So, we'll see. I think those two are the kind of obvious ones, or your Liverpool attacker of choice, whoever you've got from them, are the kind of obvious ones. I think if you're going to go anywhere outside of that, it would probably be a Chelsea player, or if you're really pushing the boat, maybe a Leicester player. But I think Man City or Spurs are kind of obvious picks.
There's quite a few options, some decent fixtures, even like you said with Leicester. My mind went completely blank there. I was going to throw a suggestion out there. No, I wasn't. I was going to say I'm pretty sure mine will stay on Son, just with that fight for the Golden Boot as well. I feel like he's even more determined to score than ever, especially if Salah's ruled out. He's only one goal behind, so minimum one goal. You never know. Needs one goal to get the Golden Boot. He might get penalties off Kane. He might be generous. We can live in hope if he's captain, especially.
I don't see that at all. I know a lot of people have been talking about that.
Yeah.
But maybe if they're like 2 or 3-0 up, sure.
Yeah.
But if the game's still in the balance, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, the 2 or 3 up, and it's literally the 80th minute or something, and Son needs one to win the Golden Boot, then you can see it. But not if it's in the 10th minute or something. But just an interesting one to put out there, isn't it? They've got to get the job done, and then something might happen. You're not fancying Ronaldo last day of the season, score 5 goals and take the golden boot?
I was literally just about to ask you that question. It was a nice little end of the season captaincy for you.
Yeah, well, considering he's been terrible all season, the goal to everyone, there's only 4 behind Salah, so, and above Kane. So I can't believe KDB's that far up. 15 goals.
Well,
it feels like he's
scoring
not
4 goals. Yeah.
But I feel like you hadn't scored that many and you hadn't fought by much in the season. And my arch nemesis Sterling's not far behind him. Probably now. Yeah, just a lot of players seem to get around that 10-15 mark that you feel like they've been out for half of the season. Like Vardy as well is on 14. And I feel like Jota's not played as much recently, but it's interesting who's up there. So hopefully Salah doesn't win it. Don't want Liverpool to win any Premier League trophies, so up the sun, especially if he's captain, of course. But I can see, well, obviously, I don't know the update on Salah's fitness, that I don't see why they would risk him in this game if they want to try and get him fit for the Champions League. I think you've surely got to be prioritising your best forward for that game. Obviously, they need to win this one, but you think, as you saw yesterday as well, they can easily win with whatever attack they really put out. So I think they'll probably be full strength, maybe minus Salah.
Yeah, you'd feel like at most he's on the bench and comes on if they really, really need it. And, for example, they know City are behind or something. So,
yeah. So it's going to be an interesting week. Well, the last week, we've got to finish it off with a bang, haven't we, really? Everyone 100 points. Just give us all 100 points just to make us go into the summer hopeful for next time. Haven't got. It's an earlier season start, isn't it? Because of the World Cup as well.
Yeah.
I think it's probably about 3 weeks earlier or something. I think generally is it like middle end of August, but I think it's beginning of August this time. So even shorter break. So we'll be back having fun straight away.
It is the 6th of August. Premier League starts.
Yeah, probably 2 or 3 weeks earlier, isn't it? So, so that's only about 2.5 months, isn't it? But it's going to be strange having a summer without a tournament because we had like back-to-back tournaments because of COVID, or I'm just making it up.
Yeah. Well, isn't it the women's Euros, I want to say?
Yeah, it's in UK as well, isn't it? I think the women's Euros. Yeah, I think I might actually be going to a few of them, to be fair. But yeah, I think that might sound us off for the season, unless we wanted to mention anything else about game week 38 or just in general.
Nope, all good. Ready to end the season, start afresh.
Just end it now. But yeah, thank you, Charlie. And as I said earlier, we might have a kind of should we call it, like a season review FPL awards kind of pod maybe in next week or so after the season's finished. But we'll update on that one, and then we'll be having a nice, well-deserved break from FPL, and should be back next season, depending on how much Charlie enjoys his holidays over the summer. But yeah, that is us for today, guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and we will speak to you on the next one.